हमारा पहला टेक्निकल सेशन जो है वो शुरू होगा एंड दैट इज कॉर्पोरेट गवर्नेंस एंड प्रोफेशनलिज्म इन अर्बन कोऑपरेटिव बैंक्स. On this topic, we are going to have our first technical session, which will be chaired by Dr. Ashish Kumar Bhutani ji, who is Secretary Cooperation Government of India. इसके अलावा इसमें श्री रमन कुमार जी आईएएस जॉइंट सेक्रेटरी सहकारिता मंत्रालय भारत सरकार, गौतम ठाकुर जी चेयरमैन सारस्वत कोऑपरेटिव बैंक मुंबई.
I will request Gautam Thakur ji to please come on the stage and take his seat on the podium on the dais. Shri Gautam Thakur ji, Shri Raman Kumar ji, IAS Joint Secretary, Ministry of Cooperation, Government of India. I will request Raman ji to please come on the take his seat on the dais. आप मंच पर स्थान ग्रहण करें. And also we are going to have Hari Prasad Patnaik ji, GM CAB RBI Pune. Hari Prasad Patnaik ji, उनसे भी मैं रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा कि वो भी आए. And this session is going to be moderated by CMA Sanjay Gupta from ICMEI, who has been president of this institution also. CMA Sanjay Gupta ji. So एक बार इस सेशन को चेयर कर रहे हैं डॉक्टर आशीष भूटानी जी और सभी पैनलिस्ट के लिए आपकी तालियों की आवाज़ के साथ आइए और उनका हम वेलकम करते हैं, बहुत बहुत स्वागत करते हैं. ये सेशन आपकी प्रेजेंस से बहुत महत्वपूर्ण होने जा रहा है. बहुत सारे इंपॉर्टेंट इश्यूज, गाइडलाइंस और पॉइंट्स को लेकर डिस्कशन होगा, जिसका कॉर्पोरेट गवर्नेंस से और प्रोफेशनलिज्म जो अर्बन कोऑपरेटिव बैंक्स के इसीलिए उसके साथ उसका ताल्लुक है. और इस सेशन को जैसा कि मैंने आपको बताया कि मॉडरेट करेंगे, मॉडरेटर इस सेशन के हैं सीएमए संजय गुप्ता जी फ्रॉम आईसीएमएआई,
फॉर्मर प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ आईएसएमएआई. इंसॉल्वेंसी प्रोफेशनल के रूप में संजय जी का बहुत नाम है और बहुत कंट्रीब्यूशन भी है. भारत सरकार की बहुत सारी इससे जुड़ी जो कमिटीज़ हैं वो आप उसके मेंबर भी रहे हैं, आज भी हैं, और यूएन असेंबली तक में आपने एज ए स्पीकर वहाँ अपनी प्रेजेंस को सुनिश्चित किया है. तो बहुत सारे राष्ट्रीय और अंतर्राष्ट्रीय स्तर पर आपकी इस क्षेत्र में एज इंसॉल्वेंसी प्रोफेशनल आपकी लगातार सक्रियता भी है और भूमिका भी है. तो संजय जी जो है वो इस सेशन को मॉडरेट करेंगे. तो मैं रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा सीएमए संजय गुप्ता जी फ्रॉम आईसीएमएआई कि वो इस सेशन को इसका परिचय आपके सामने, इसको इंट्रोडक्शन आपके सामने रखेंगे और उसके बाद इस सेशन को जो प्रोसीडिंग से वो आगे बढ़ाएंगे. तो आई विल रिक्वेस्ट वंस अगेन प्लीज बी सीटेड. आप सभी बैठ जाएं, मोबाइल फोन अपने जरूर साइलेंट मोड पर कर लें. संजय, सीएमए संजय गुप्ता जी.
गुड आफ्टरनून एवरीवन. So I've been assigned the responsibility to moderate the session on the corporate governance and professionalism in urban cooperative banks. We are privileged to have very distinguished Dr. Ashish Bhutani, Secretary, MOC. And if you look at, his experience, he has a very wide experience. And if you talk about whether it's an agriculture sector or spreading the PM Fasal Bima Yojana, and if you look at the doctor, being a doctor himself, he knows what the disease was. So the moment he get the hem of in this ministry, he start looking into the activities, and in a very short span of time, you can see how the things have moved on. So with these rigorous things, we hope, the way the Honorable Minister in the morning has given a lot of initiatives and a lot of targets. So we are sure, under such a dynamic secretary, it's a matter of time these things will be fulfilled. We are privileged to have Shri Hari Prasad Patnaik ji, GM, and he is also the 5th College for Agriculture Banking, Pune. Looking at his vast experience, we are honored and privileged. We are going to listen to him about his expertise in this sector. We have Shri Raman Kumar, who is the IAS and Joint Secretary with the Government of India. We are privileged to have Mr. Gautam Thakur, Chairman, Sarvas Cooperative Bank, Mumbai. If you look at the program, you can see the person who is making the policy, the Government of India, there. अच्छा, हमारे साथ बैंकर्स भी हैं, जो रेगुलेटर हैं रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया वो भी हमारे साथ है। तो एक ही मंच पे तीनों लोग हैं, रेगुलेटर भी हैं, पॉलिसी मेकर भी हैं, और जो लार्जेस्ट कोऑपरेटिव बैंक है अर्बन कोऑपरेटिव, उनके चेयरमैन भी एक ही साथ डायस पे हैं। अगर हम गौतम ठाकुर जी की बात करें तो ही इज अंडर हिज लीडरशिप total business has grown from 38,000 crore to 91,800 crore as on 31st March 2025. I think big round of applause. And there is a 0% NPA in a row. Especially if you're looking at, our banking sector, it is such a, they are reeling under the lot of non-performing asset. That is the reason insolvency and bankruptcy code has come. अगर 0% NPA के साथ बैंक इज वर्किंग, दैट टू अ कोऑपरेटिव बैंक,
top bank 80,000 crore business.
one of the top bank with the 80,000 crore business. And the best part, if you talk about the technology, why they are number one today in the urban cooperative, the reason could be there because they are the best technology bank in the cooperative sector for 6 years in a row, which is given by the Indian Bank Association Awards. And bank is also on the Fortune 500 list of 5 years in a row.
90,000 crore business.
ठीक है, हाँ जी। अगर हम बेसिकली if you look at the split of cooperation among cooperatives, और जो थीम है यहाँ पे सहकार से समृद्धि, when prosperity, which we call it, is, so that is the idea of a cooperative. And our Dr. Ashish Bhutani ji, basically whatever the umbrella organization which has come, which is the National Urban Cooperative Financial Development Corporation Limited, we could see, after this lot of capacity building, if you look at the initiatives, what it has to undergo, we have to see, it has come with a lot of modernization, lot of computerization, lot of capacity building. So these are some of the areas, and the idea is to promote consolidation. If you look at the RBI has cancelled close to, from 14 to 24, they have cancelled more than 78 cooperative bank licenses. The reason, if you look in deeper, the reason could be there was a weaker banks, there were a lot of NPAs, there was no corporate governance. Corporate governance was at risk, there was a less of audit controls. We have seen in the 2 banks in this financial year also, which has, been closed on. One has been amalgamated with Service Bank. And if you look at, the supervision and surveillance of RBI, almost 215 banks have been put on the penalties. There are 7 cancellations, and 23 urban cooperative banks are under restrictions as of now today. To overcome all this, there is a revised prudential norm which has been come. There is an extension of prompt corrective actions, and there is a one-time cleanup by March 2025. And if you look at the provisions and other areas, we could see there is a compulsory cost recognition in profit and loss accounts. And there is no new license which has been issued after 2004. But we are pretty sure the way things are going with the digitization, if you look at the theme itself, the digitizing dreams and empowering communities. Being an insolvency professional, being a former president of the Institute of Cost and Management Accountants of India, we could understand what could be the cost of the service, what could be the NPS, and how the things are getting bad, and what could be the possible alternatives, and how things can shape up. So without taking much of time, I request Dr. Ashish Bhutani, Secretary ji, if he can kindly, the keynote, our keynote address and the chair of the session, if you can kindly come and share your thought process.
Good afternoon, everybody. After, I would say, a very interesting inaugural session, I'm not sure how much capacity you have before lunch to hear all of us. Shri Sanjay Gupta, CMA Sanjay Gupta, former president of ICMI and moderator for this session. My fellow panelists, Shri Hari Prasad Napatnayak, GM of the College of Agriculture Banking, RBI. Shri Gautam Thakur, Chairman of Saraswat Bank. My colleague in the ministry, Shri Raman Kumar. Luminaries of the cooperative sector. I see a lot of people, officers from the RBI, ministry, the chairmen and MDs of urban cooperative banks, and various people who are interested in the cooperative sector. I would say this is a very apt time to hold this conference at the fag end of the completion of the International Year of Cooperation. In fact, I would give credit to Lakshmi Das ji for planning this conference 1 year in advance. He came to me sometime in November and December beginning से हमको conference करनी है, हमने कब करनी है, अगले साल नवंबर में करनी है. हमने कहा that is amazing that you are planning so much in advance and you are thinking about in advance. So I would say stitch in time, and as it happens at the end of the International Year of Cooperation, it's an international conference. I also welcome all the dignitaries who joined us online from various parts of the world. So it is a conference which aptly talks about digitalizing dreams and empowering communities. That is what urban cooperative banks are. They are primarily community-based banks, started as community-based banks. Some of them, including Saraswat and Cosmos, have become very big, but primarily community-based banks. They have been targeting communities, addressing the needs of communities, the smallest of needs of your self-employed individuals, local entrepreneurs, traders. They have a very strong community touch. In fact, whenever in one of the days we had gone for a meeting to the RBI, so that was Ganesh Chaturthi was there, and we went to one of the functions, and we met one of the chairman of one of the banks there, which was next to the Lal Bagh where we had gone. So the lady told me that our customers are 50 years old. They are 50 customers for 50 years, 55 years. That is the type of trust urban cooperative banks hold with the communities. So I would say, with nearly 1,500 banks, 10,000 branches, 5.5 lakh crore worth of deposit, 3.5 lakh crore worth of advances, and as I said earlier, targeting MSMEs, local entrepreneurs. They have deep presence locally, and community trust is their core strength. In fact, we have seen over the years commercial banks and private banks taking over a lot of space which the cooperative banks earlier occupied, but whatever they may do, they cannot get that trust and the last mile connection, or that connection with the customer, which Honorable Minister was talking about in his inaugural address also, which you can do. So that is something which is strength which will remain with you, and I'm sure the commercial banks cannot impinge upon that type of arrangement which you have. But as financial landscape evolves, it is important for us to introspect where we are and where we have reached, what all we should do to remain in competition. Now that is something which is very, very important, and perhaps that is the reason why we have gathered here today. There is a growing need to strengthen corporate governance, enhance managerial professionalism, and diversify our business models so that all the urban cooperative banks are robust, competitive, and future ready. As you are aware, we regularly engage with the Reserve Bank of India. A lot of officers, present and past, of Reserve Bank are here amidst us today. We regularly engage with RBI on a monthly basis. Our team sits, our joint secretaries, directors sit with the team of RBI. I myself try to meet the RBI governor once in 2 to 3 months to ensure that all the issues which impact or constrain your growth are properly placed before the appropriate authority in the RBI, discussed, deliberated, and there is a time frame when because we meet in 1 to 2 to 3 months, we expect some movement on all the issues which we have flagged. So there is I would say, a positive movement in most of the issues which we have flagged. And as we have been arguing and deliberating with the RBI, we see a lot of positive movements. I'll be mentioning those, I would say, changes which have come about. Honorable Minister mentioned some of them in his inaugural address as well. Now, that said, this is pushing us to opening up RBI or the urban cooperative banks to better facilities, better, I would say, more enabled. But Honorable Minister, as he always says, we should not argue with RBI for loosening controls, giving us relaxations. We should meet these strict and I would say, stringent guidelines or benchmarks laid down by RBI if we really want to progress and compete with the other banks. The Minister of Cooperation, as I said earlier, has been regularly interacting with the RBI we have been able to move together with RBI to undertake a lot of reforms, not only to support operational expansion, but also to encourage modernization in banks, business diversification, and better governance discipline within the urban cooperative banks. Branch expansion was something which was stuck for a long time. I think somebody in the morning session also mentioned that. And we have been able to get you automatic branch opening. But the issue is, have we opened those many branches? That is something which we now be interacting with the UCBs and trying to gather figures. Have we been able to open the branches the way we wanted? There was a huge clamor and cry that we have been unable to open branches. That's something which we need to discuss, deliberate, and get data from the urban cooperative banks. The doorstep banking services, another aspect where we have worked and successfully got relaxations from the RBI. The scheduled status eligibility is something which is, I would say, big thing which has happened in the recent years with the RBI. Well-performing urban cooperative banks can now attain scheduled caste status upon sustaining Tier 3 schedule for 2 years, improving their funding avenues and elevation of governance standards. One of the most important interventions which the ministry has been able to make with the approval of RBI, the setting up of the urban umbrella organization or the NUCFDC. Now this is, I would say, this is a generational approval which RBI has given. We are all aware of the issues plaguing the sector, and we are all also united in the, I would say, argument that technology is something which is pushing us back. Technology is one single parameter which, if enabled in the urban cooperative banks, we will be at par with most of the banks in the country and perhaps compete with them on equal footing. Now that is something which we have been able to crack with the setting up of the umbrella organization. So umbrella organization is a one point where we will provide shared IT platforms to you, provide cyber security support, risk management frameworks, etc., as well as also liquidity assistance and training. Now this is an organization which has been in the making for the last 1.5 years. We got the license for NBFC license last year, I think 7th or 8th of February, if I'm not mistaken. So we have in the last 1.5 years, substantial progress has been made by the team of NUCFDC led by Jyoti Mehta ji to ensure that we roll out a lot of services. 2 services were rolled out today by the Honorable Minister. So it's very important for us, all the urban cooperative banks, to come together and ensure that we equally participate in this exercise. Otherwise, I'm afraid we'll be left behind. Now, we intend to argue and talk for the entire sector through this umbrella organization. It's important that we realize the importance of joining the movement, contributing in the movement, and taking advantage of the, I would say, the facilities or the all the benefits which come as part of joining this umbrella organization. Priority sector lending, target rationalization, Honorable Minister talked about, and expanding housing and individual housing limits have been increased. Again, I would say another important aspect of our intervention with the RBI and other ministries is the CGTMSE coverage extension. Now, collateral free lending with risk sharing enables growth in MSME, and this is something which is very important. In spite of best of efforts, many banks still have not taken advantage of this. Perhaps I think this platform would be one, I would say, reason for all of us to discuss this and deliberate upon in detail in the next, today and tomorrow. All this has created a supportive and enabling environment, but sustainability depends on how effectively governance and management practices are strengthened inside each institution. That's why we are gathered here today. To truly advance professionalism and governance in the UCBs, 3 strategic shifts are essential. The first shift is professional leadership and skilled human resources. Appointment of a qualified CEO and senior management, continuous training in risk management, credit assessment, IT security and compliances. These are from the bedrock of well-managed banks. All the good banks are doing this. There's need for us to deliberate on this issue in detail. Second is transparent, accountable and responsible board functioning. Now, clear distinction between board governance and operational management. I think this is a very critical aspect of going to next league for the urban cooperative banks. Two cooperatives Honorable Minister talked about, number 1 and number 2 in the world practice this. Amul and IFCO are practical examples in front of us who practice this, where there's a clear-cut distinction between board governance and operational management. Now, this is something which all the banks have to deliberate, internalize, and ensure that we come to a decision that this is the only way will push us upwards and take us forward. Strong internal controls, timely audits and adherence to regulatory norms is something which is very, very critical. In fact, many of these banks which are in the EID or are going downhill are suffering because of lack of regulatory compliances and the norms laid down by the RBI. They are, I would say, it's very important for somebody to understand that and ensure there is somebody doing the oversight regularly on these compliances. All of us have to ensure that we work on this. And the last and the most important strategy shift is technology, which I mentioned a while ago. Technology-driven business and risk frameworks, adoption of core banking, upgrade MIS and early warning systems and cyber resilience. Cyber fraud is something which is very, very big. Many of us have been affected by it in a big way. I would not name banks, but it has set us back hugely. There's very important, I would say, need for investing in cyber resilience. Participation in shared digital platforms, which I have talked about, the umbrella organization. That is one organization we have set up. I think it's already providing services, and next 6 to 9 months' time, I'm sure they'll be providing world-class services uniformly to all the banks. See, we are trying to leverage economies of scale. If you buy individually, you'll get a worse price. You buy 1,500 banks together, you have the might. You have to leverage a very good price. Best technology. Imagine 1,500 banks floating RFPs, the cost of floating RFP, ending up with some fly-by-night operator or fly-by-night technology. So this is something which you can easily avoid and ensure that we also leapfrog into the league of top banks in the country. I would say technology is one biggest factor which we have to unite and I would say go together forward together. It is also essential that all the urban cooperative banks, as I said earlier, become member lending institutions under the CGTMSE to take advantage of collateral-free lending. Onboard Aadhaar-enabled payment services and also onboarding on the I4C platform to report cyber fraud. That is something which is extremely important if we really want to, I would say, leapfrog to the next level in the banking system. Good governance, as I say, is not only a regulatory requirement. It is a foundation of public trust, institutional credibility and sustainable growth. Professionalism is the pathway that will enable UCBs to diversify, innovate and compete effectively in a modern banking environment. We all here have gathered in the COP 2025 hosted by NAFCUB. I would say this entire 2-day workshop or conference offers an important opportunity to share best practices, understand governance challenges at the grassroots level, speak openly, I would say, discuss openly all the issues plaguing constraining us in moving forward, and develop practical and actionable strategies for improving leadership quality, capacity, technology adoption, and business diversification. Let us all work together to build well-governed, customer-centric, and professionally managed, digitally strengthened, and future-ready urban cooperative banks, contributing meaningfully to the vision of Sahakar se Samriddhi. I would end by saying that all of us are united in our effort in ensuring the urban cooperative space moves forward in a meaningful and I would say takes all the big steps in migrating to another league, which we are all ambitious for, aspire for. And the ministry is rock solid behind you. We have been able to get all these relaxations, concessions, or a change of heart from the RBI on many issues. And we will continue engaging with the Reserve Bank of India, the regulator for all of you, to ensure that they understand your concerns. We are one. In fact, I was telling some of my colleagues today before the conference also, please share your concerns with us. So we are having a platform for discussion. We'll place those issues with the RBI and ensure that a meaningful solution to those issues are also provided by the regulator. I'm also, I would say, concerned and mindful of the fact that regulator has also a lot of concerns, skepticism about can we deliver. So we keep on arguing on your behalf that we are there to deliver, we will deliver, we'll ensure that a lot of skepticism you have won't ever see the light of the day. But you also have to give us comfort in ensuring that we follow best business practices, good governance techniques, and ensuring, as I said earlier, clearly creating a division between your board and your operational team, and also strengthen the board of management. All the Tier 1 plus banks have to also set up a board of management. That is also vibrant, alive and kicking, and also a forum for discussing a lot of issues which will help us in taking the banks forward. So I am grateful for to the organizers for calling me here, for giving me an opportunity to speak, and also share my views as well as listen to all of you. In fact, the inaugural session was very enlightening. A lot of good suggestions and a lot of things were discussed in the inaugural session. And I look forward to deliberations, and I look forward to, I would say, note on the deliberations to the ministry which can help us in moving forward or taking the issues forward at the right forum for the constraints which the sector is facing. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ashish. I think, you have rightly touched, the topic of transparency and accountability, the board selection and the regulatory compliances, and internal audit and vigilance. Because if you look, being the policy maker and being sitting in the ministry, these are the key areas when you can differentiate. And he has rightly said, he's very open for platform for discussion. Because as a regulator also, they look for how the banks are working, what could be the NPAs. Again, I like to highlight one more area, the board selection, the qualified experience and the person with a diverse experience is very much need of the hour. And there should be a perpetual audit, there will be internal control system. If they can build within the system, I think, is going to make the sea change for the upcoming cooperative banks. Now we look forward to Mr. Gautam Thakur. If you can please, and one more thing I like to, if you can kindly touch on that, as you know, you're the best technology bank and you have been one of among the top 10 banks by the Forbes survey, 4th in a row. But comparatively, there are many other banks. Who are struggling. So how you make a difference, if you can add on this point? Wherever you.
Very good afternoon. I am part of this illustrious panel here, where we have Secretary, Ministry of Cooperation, also the Joint Secretary, and the moderator is a former President of ICMA, and RBI GM from CAP Pune. Perhaps I am the only person here who is from a part of you, a person who is from the UCB industry. मैं आपके सामने, of course sir, but as a regulated entity, मैं आपके सामने मेरी बात बेबाकी से रखना चाहूँगा। कोऑपरेटिव गवर्नेंस के बारे में यहाँ बात हो रही है, and very often urban cooperatives, the problem is that people say that there is a lack of governance in urban cooperatives. We all have to introspect here. Sir, the difference between a corporate and a cooperative is the board is not selected, but the board is elected. So we all have to understand that if we are going to run better institutions, whoever is the leadership of your particular cooperative, you have to see to it that you select such people who will get elected and run a better bank in the future. तो अगर आपको अच्छी कोऑपरेटिव बनानी है तो पहले बोर्ड के अच्छे लोग सिलेक्ट करने पड़ेंगे. RBI might say that you need 2 professionals on the board, but 2 is the minimum. Okay, you must have a good diversity in the board. I'll give you an example. Whenever I am going to talk, I'll give you an example of Saraswat, because we have learned something along the way. We just like all of you, Saraswat has been a cooperative institution for 108 years. March we crossed 91,800. Next March we are sure of crossing 1 lakh crores of business. My point here is that along the way there have been many learnings. And the first learning is that governance is a matter of the board. It is not related to your staff or anything. It is the board which has to take governance very, very seriously. And the first step is to elect proper people to your board who are professionals. You know, there has to be a good diversity in the board. There could be bankers, there could be chartered accountants, auditors. You also should have businessmen. Okay. I've seen some banks where there were many auditors. Itne auditors bhar gaye ki, you know, they almost stopped the functioning of the bank because the businessmen or the other ones or even the people who, from the bank who were trying to put up proposals, they just couldn't get them through. So diversity in the board is equally important. Third is कि आपको किसी ने नहीं रोका है to adopt the best practices. I'll give you an example. In 2020, there was a RBI circular which talked about corporate governance in commercial banks. Saraswat Bank adopted it on its own. In our bank, we have domain committees. Credit की committee है, audit की committee है, risk की committee है, हर चीज़ की committee है. और उस committee में एक committee का director दूसरी committee में नहीं बैठ सकता. The person from risk will not sit in audit. The person from credit will not sit in risk. So there is independence of committees. So it is totally up to you what models to adopt. But if you adopt the best practices, for instance, risk-based audit was not compulsory when it was not compulsory for urban cooperative banks. We had adopted it long ago, even before the circular came. So if you have to grow, you have to adopt the best models, have the best people in your boards, and then most important thing is our textbook definition आप देखोगे for corporate governance, it should be about accountability, you know, transparency, fairness. मेरे हिसाब से सबसे important बात बोर्ड की है responsibility. A board should always take decisions not only for today and tomorrow, but what will be the impact on the bank for years to come. Very often boards take decisions which, you know, are very pleasing for the shareholders in the short term, but in the long term, they are very risky for the bank. So boards should act with absolute responsibility. Now, just a few points I would like to cover so that because we are short of time, so I'll say what I have to say here. The other things are that is the board strong enough to take ethics is very important if you want to run a good bank because your customers are watching, the regulator is watching, okay? और उससे भी ज़्यादा खौफ करना है तो ऊपर वाले का करो. If there is any wrongdoing in your bank, it will be coming to light. In Saraswat Bank, when we have wrongdoing हर जगह होता है. In Saraswat Bank, we have not stopped shy of even dismissing executives or even members of the board. किसी छोटे ब्रांच मैनेजर को आप अकाउंटेबिलिटी में आप निकाल देते हो, लेकिन वो एक्शन आप आपके बोर्ड के मेंबर के ऊपर लेने की तैयारी दिखाते हो क्या? आपके किसी परफॉर्मिंग एग्जीक्यूटिव अगर है लेकिन वो कुछ ने उस इफ ही हैज डन समथिंग रॉन्ग, डू यू शो द करेज टू टेक एक्शन देयर? दैट इज व्हाट आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी. कि अगर वो कल्चर बैठ गया बैंक में तो फिर बैंक कभी नहीं सुधरेगी, इट विल गो डाउन. सो इट इज द बोर्ड विच हैज टू बी रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर द एथिक्स and culture of the bank, and that is, I think, the biggest part of corporate governance. Sir, here I would like to add that unlike in the corporate world, there are independent directors on the board. In cooperatives, there are no independent directors. But now we have board of management. So board of management should be used to as a forum where you should have You have now an independent opinion coming to you. We should not look at it as a problem. In Saraswat, when the Board of Management concept came, we brought in one DMD from SBI. We brought in one president from Axis Bank. And we brought another person from HDFC. Okay, so as a cooperative, we are getting experience of the private banks as well as public sector, best banks. अदरवाइज आप लोग बहुत जगह मैंने देखा है क्या करते हो, बोर्ड ऑफ मैनेजमेंट मतलब अपने कन्वीनियंस का, कि जो हमें कुछ ज़्यादा सवाल ना पूछे. अगर ये करोगे तो यू विल नॉट ग्रो. सो इफ यू हैव टू बी, इफ यू वांट टू ग्रो, you will have to do it the hard way. Adopt whatever is coming to you and put in your best on this. The last thing is I would want to say is about professionalism that you said here. Professionalism भी अगर आपको अगर करना है तो professionalism में दो तीन बातें सबसे important is a performance culture in the bank. In all cooperatives पहले होता था कि employees को ex gratia मिलता था, बोनस एज वी कॉल इट, एंड ऑफ द ईयर काम करो या ना करो सेम बोनस. इन सारस्वत वी अडॉप्टेड 4 years ago a process in which that 15% ex gratia has now totally been converted to 15% variable pay. जो आदमी काम करेगा उसको वेरिएबल, ये कोऑपरेटिव्स में नहीं है, बिकॉज वी डू नॉट वांट टू जज आवर employees, on performance basis. If you want professionalism, you will have to invest in your people. We started sending our executives to IIM to get them trained. अभी अच्छा है त्रिभुवन यूनिवर्सिटी बन रही है, वहाँ भी भेजेंगे लोगों को. But the point is that you will have to invest in your talent and also get other talent from outside so that they get the right influences. So with our experience in Saraswat Bank, what I have to say is, if you want to build a big bank, nobody is stopping you. But the right structures have to be in place, and it is entirely the duty of the boards to bring in the right kind of corporate governance, which is a responsible, ethical organization, and which is a performing organization. I'm sure that each one of you has the potential to grow in your areas or wherever. Nobody is stopping us. It is only us. And every time if we are going to say regulator ने ये किया, regulator ने वो किया, तो आपकी प्रगति नहीं होगी. देखो, it's like playing cricket. टेस्ट मैच खेल रहे तो टेस्ट मैच के रूल, T20 खेल रहे तो T20, डकवर्थ लुइस लग गया तो लग गया, बस उसके साथ ही खेलना है. When the rule changes, you play according to the new rules. But whatever else are the rules today, we have the ministry supporting us to see to it that the rules will be changed. RBI is also now listening actively about whatever changes are to be made in UCBs. But do not wait for those change in rules. Play on whatever rules are available to you. Strengthen your own processes on your own frameworks. I was just talking to somebody, and I think banks work in silos. अभी आप इतने उनको products दे रहे हैं. NUCFDC is doing such a wonderful job. You are coming with digital products. लेकिन वो digital products आके जादू हो जाएगी क्या? नहीं. आपको वो silos में काम नहीं करना पड़ेगा. First, understand what is your business model. Develop processes in line with those business model. Before the processes, the policies for those particular whatever business model you have chosen, I have to be very sharp, crystal clear. And after the processes, ये सारी चीज़ों को जोड़ने वाला जो होता है, जैसे साइकिल में होता है, एक पहिया होता है, ब्रेक होता है, लाइट होता है, all those things are there. The board will have to create a framework. जो साइकिल का बीच में का जो ट्रायंगल होता है वो हर चीज को जोड़े रखता है. वो जब तक नहीं बनाएंगे तब तक स्पेयर पार्ट्स लेके कोई प्रगति नहीं हो सकती. So a holistic approach has to be adopted by the board with the future in sight. Do not fall for small things, which will give you a temporary leverage as of today, but will get your bank into the trouble in the long run. And the last thing is think big. Very often banks think only about, it is possible for, if there is Saraswat, SVC, Cosmos, there are many good banks which have grown along the way. I'm sure others will also follow in this step. And whatever was today said by Minister Sir, that there should be at least in every town there should be one cooperative. It is easily possible, but if the present banks decided to grow big and establish these proper frameworks, I am certain, sir, that we all are capable enough to realize and fulfill this particular dream. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Raman Kumar ji. Gautam Thakur ji, now I request, what if I sum up Gautam Thakur ji ka, if you look at the gist, the basic thing which has come up is the board of management should be very independent. And if you look at the performance culture, and the best part should be the capacity building. So these are the 4-5 mantras. Rather, I will request the chairman of Shri Jyotendra Mehta ji, chairman NUC FDC, if whatever the best practices in a bank, if SOP can be prepared, if we have just listened, so whatever the best practices along with the ministry and with the regulator, if we can set. And there should be, as the one point was coming, there are so many auditors coming. Sometimes, only in the evening, only auditors are left. So generally, if you come with the good SOPs, where the best practices that can be correlated. So whatever the best thing other one is doing, even others should also get the benefit of the same. So I request Mehta ji if they can take this initiative, because they are doing a wonderful job. If NUC FDC can take this initiative, I think it can do wonders. Now you request Shri Raman Kumar ji, Joint Secretary, Government of India, if they can kindly.
थैंक यू गुप्ता जी. गुड आफ्टरनून टू ऑल ऑफ यू. आप सभी को मेरा बहुत बहुत नमस्कार. NUC FDC के इस कोप महाकुंभ में आज हम सबको माननीय गृह एवं सहकारिता मंत्री जी ने जो मार्गदर्शन दिया है, जो रोड मैप दिया है, उसके आधार पर अगले 2 दिनों में हमें बहुत सारे डिस्कशंस करने हैं और इसकी शुरुआत हो चुकी है. इस प्रारंभिक सत्र में उपस्थित हमारे सहकारिता मंत्रालय के आदरणीय सचिव महोदय, इस सत्र में मंच पर उपस्थित सभी अर्बन कोऑपरेटिव सेक्टर के वरिष्ठ अधिकारीगण, बैंकर्स, रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया के जनरल मैनेजर और इस सभागार में उपस्थित नैफकब के मानद अध्यक्ष महोदय, अध्यक्ष लक्ष्मीदास जी, फेडरेशन के सभी मेंबर्स, सहकारिता मंत्रालय के अधिकारीगण, विभिन्न राज्यों से आए हुए प्रतिनिधिगण, विदेशों से आए हुए हमारे आदरणीय प्रतिनिधिगण और ऑनलाइन मोड से जुड़े हुए आप सभी सहकारिता के साथियों. आज के इस सत्र में हमारे पूर्व वक्ताओं ने बहुत ही विस्तार से आपको सहकारिता क्षेत्र में अर्बन कोऑपरेटिव बैंकिंग में कॉरपोरेट गवर्नेंस और प्रोफेशनलिज्म को कैसे इम्प्रूव किया जाए, उनके जो प्रैक्टिसेस हैं, इसके बारे में सारस्वत बैंक के चेयरमैन ने बताया और सहकारिता मंत्रालय के सचिव महोदय ने आपको एक विजन दिया कि किस प्रकार से सहकारिता बैंकिंग के क्षेत्र में भी, विशेषकर अर्बन सेक्टर में, वो सारे प्रैक्टिसेस को RBI के मार्गदर्शन में, RBI के डायरेक्शन में जो हमें एक रोड मैप मिल रहा है, जो क्लियरेंस मिल रहा है, जो हमारी सहूलियतों को ध्यान में रखते हुए उनके द्वारा जो हमें अनुज्ञप्ति मिल रही है, लाइसेंसेस मिल रहे हैं, धीरे धीरे अर्बन कोऑपरेटिव बैंक में भी वो सारे सुधार, वो सारे जो आवश्यक इनिशिएटिव्स हैं वो लिए जा रहे हैं और हमें इसका और अधिक विस्तार करना है. इससे पहले कि मैं अपने संदेश आज के इस सत्र के माध्यम से दूं, मैं अपने कुछ व्यक्तिगत अनुभव आपके सामने रखना चाहता हूं और मुझे लगता है कि उन अनुभवों से मैं अपनी बातों को कह पाऊंगा। कोऑपरेटिव बैंकिंग के क्षेत्र में मेरा पहला अनुभव जब हम फील्ड में होते हैं और किसी न किसी उत्तरदायित्व को निभा रहे होते हैं, तो ऐसे में ही आया और यूं आया कि मोटे मोटे पुलिंदे हमारे सामने हमारे टेबल पर रखे होते थे, कंप्लेंट्स के, शिकायतों के। ये आपके लिए नहीं है, ये शिकायतें किसी भी फील्ड में हो सकती हैं। इनिशियल ईयर्स के अपने अनुभव में आपको बता रहा हूं, तो हमें भी कुछ समझ में नहीं आता था कि इन मोटे पुलिंदों का, इन इतने मोटे मोटे शिकायतों का हमें करना क्या है। बट वी हैव टू डिलीवर, सो समथिंग वी गेट फ्रॉम RCS एंड अदर सीनियर ऑफिसर्स, और फिर उसमें से कुछ हम लोगों ने कोशिश की, लेकिन हम बहुत सफल नहीं हो पाए। एक दूसरा अनुभव है, जब मैंने इस मंत्रालय में ज्वाइन किया तो हमारे सचिव महोदय ने और माननीय मंत्री जी ने हमें मार्गदर्शन दिया कि हमें उन क्षेत्रों में जाना चाहिए, जाकर के फील्ड से कुछ ना कुछ अनुभव, कुछ ना कुछ सीख हमें लेनी चाहिए। तो मैं तमिलनाडु के कांचीपुरम के एक अर्बन कोऑपरेटिव सोसाइटी में गया। बहुत टेक्नोलॉजी फ्रेंडली माहौल नहीं था वहां पर, लेकिन वहां के जो कस्टमर्स थे ऑलमोस्ट सबके एवरेज एज मोर देन 60, 65 साल का कोई वृद्ध व्यक्ति, कोई 55-60 साल की वृद्धा। तो उनसे बात करने पर यह लगा कि बगल में बड़े अच्छे अच्छे बहुत चमक दमक वाले बैंक हैं, वहां पर आप नहीं जाकर के यहाँ क्यों आए हैं। तो उन्होंने जो बात कही वो माननीय मंत्री जी ने आज अपने संबोधन में कहा, ट्रस्ट। वो ट्रस्ट आप में, जो आपके कस्टमर्स का, वो आपके कस्टमर नहीं, आपके फैमिली मेंबर्स हैं। तो ये एक जो ट्रस्ट है और वो जो शिकायतें हैं जो आज से 15 साल पहले मैंने फेस किया था, उन शिकायतों और इन ट्रस्ट से आगे निकलकर RBI ने हमें कई दिशा निर्देश दिए हैं, हमें आगे बढ़ने का रास्ता दिखाया है। उसी में से एक है NUC-FDC। पिछले 3 महीनों में माननीय मंत्री महोदय के मार्गदर्शन में ऑलमोस्ट एवरी वीक सचिव महोदय रिव्यू करते रहे हैं कि NUC-FDC में हमारे कितने बैंक्स जुड़े हैं। तो इनिशियल डेज में वो प्रगति बहुत संतोषजनक नहीं थी, लेकिन जब हम इंडिविजुअली स्टेट्स में जाते थे और NUC-FDC के बारे में बात करते थे तो इंडिविजुअल बैंक कहता था, अरे हमें तो यही तो जरूरत है, हमें यही तो चाहिए, ये प्रोडक्ट हमें कहां मिलेगा। तो हमारे बीच कम्युनिकेशन का जो गैप है, इसको दूर करने का काम आज के इस NAFCB के कोप कुंभ ने किया है। मेरा आप सबसे हाथ जोड़कर निवेदन होगा कि इस 2 दिन के महाकुंभ में आप गोता लगाएं और कुछ ना कुछ अपने लिए ले करके जाएं। इसे केवल औपचारिकता के रूप में कि हमने पार्टिसिपेशन फी दिया, हमें बुलाया गया, हम आ गए, ऐसा ना करें। अपने विचारों को शेयर करें, फॉर्मली और इनफॉर्मली भी, और उसको एक कलेक्शन के रूप में लेकर के आफ्टर दिस कोप कुंभ NAFCB की टीम एंड अम्ब्रेला ऑर्गेनाइजेशन की टीम और मिनिस्ट्री की टीम, हम सब लोग एक साथ बैठें और बार बार बैठें, और फिर उससे जो निकल करके आए, जो दिशा हमें मंत्री जी ने दिखाया है, निश्चित तौर पर आपके विचार, मंत्री जी का विजन, हमारी कठिनाइयां, इन सब का समाधान निकलेगा और हम आगे बढ़ेंगे। तो ये जो अनुभव है, इसके बाद फिर RBI की मीटिंग्स का अनुभव मैं बताता हूं। मुझे ये बताया गया कि RBI के सीनियर ऑफिसर भी यहां पर हैं कि RBI चूंकि रेगुलेटर है और एक वैश्विक स्तर पर RBI का अपना एक स्थान है जो हमारे लिए गर्व का विषय है। बट फील्ड में ऐसा माना जाता रहा कि RBI का हमारे प्रति नजरिया बहुत सकारात्मक नहीं है। ये बात नहीं है। RBI एक बेंचमार्क, एक स्टैंडर्ड सेट करती है, हमें अपने एस्पिरेशंस को बढ़ाना पड़ेगा। हमें यह भी अनुभव हुआ कि हम संतुष्ट हैं, हम जहां हैं हमारा काम चल रहा है, ठीक ठाक चल रहा है, हमें इससे ज्यादा कुछ सोचने की जरूरत नहीं है। एक बार फिर मैं आपसे निवेदन करूंगा कि अपने विंडो को ओपन करें। बाहर बहुत सारी चीजें हैं जिससे हम सीख सकते हैं, जिससे हम जान सकते हैं, और कुछ संकोच होगा, कुछ अपना कंफर्ट होगा, कुछ डिस्कंफर्ट भी होगा, लेकिन इन सब के बावजूद हमें एक दूसरे से सीखना चाहिए। हमें ठाकुर जी ने जो मैसेज दिया इस मंच के माध्यम से, आपके सामने पहले भी ये सारी बातें आई होंगी, और अब जब मैं आपसे बात कर रहा हूं तो आपसे मतलब केवल Tier 4 एंड Tier 3 नहीं है। मैंने इस कार्यक्रम की तैयारी के दौरान बार बार कहा है कि टियर 1 और टियर 2 के जो हमारे साथी हैं उनको भी हाथ पकड़ करके लेकर के आगे चलना पड़ेगा। उनको केवल हम बोल करके कि आपको करना है ऐसा नहीं होगा, हमें उनको एड्रेस करना है, उनको मोटिवेट करना है, उनके इश्यूज को बहुत ही गंभीरतापूर्वक ध्यान में दे करके बड़े भाई की भूमिका में उनको छोटे भाइयों को हमें साथ में लाना पड़ेगा। पूरे अर्बन कोऑपरेटिव बैंक की प्रॉस्पेरिटी केवल लीडर्स के माध्यम से नहीं होगा। हमारे वो लोग जो सुदूर क्षेत्रों में हैं, जो अभी एस्पायर भी नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, जो निश्चिंत हैं, संतुष्ट हैं, उनको साथ जोड़ करके और अपने परिवार के दायरे को बढ़ा करके अभी नए नए ब्रांचेज ओपन करने के लिए आरबीआई ने अनुमति दी। तो माननीय मंत्री जी ने परसों ही कहा कि आरबीआई ने जो हमारे इनिशिएटिव्स को अप्रूवल दिया उसके क्या इम्पैक्ट हुए, क्या नैफकब ने इसका कोई स्टडी किया है, क्या नैफकब के पास ये आंकड़ा है कि आरबीआई ने जो पिछले 2-3 वर्षों में 20 नए तरह की अनुमति हमें दी है या 10 नई अनुमति दी है, उसका क्या प्रभाव हुआ। तो इस पर हमें काम करना पड़ेगा, नॉट ओनली नैफकब बल्कि हम सबको, जो भी स्टेक होल्डर्स हैं इस कोऑपरेटिव बैंकिंग के स्ट्रेंथनिंग में। तो इन सभी पहलुओं पर हम सब मिलकर के काम करेंगे। प्रोफेशनलिज्म और कॉरपोरेट गवर्नेंस पर बहुत ही अच्छे तरीके से अपने संदेश ठाकुर जी ने दिया है, सरस्वत बैंक के चेयरमैन साहब ने और हमारे आदरणीय सचिव डॉक्टर आशीष कुमार भूटानी जी ने दिया है। तो मैं उन बातों को दोहराए बिना मैं अपनी भावनाओं को आपको व्यक्त करते हुए एक बार फिर आपसे निवेदन करता हूं कि सहकारिता मंत्रालय माननीय मंत्री जी के नेतृत्व में आपके साथ खड़ा है, कदम से कदम मिलाकर के हर मौके पर हर जगह आपके साथ है। आप अपने इश्यूज को ला रहे हैं, ये बहुत अच्छी बात है और आगे भी आने वाले दिनों में हम अपने डिस्कशंस को, अपने इंटरेक्शन को और ओपन करेंगे। हम नैफकब के साथ रेगुलर मीटिंग्स करेंगे। नैफकब भी तैयार होकर के आए, वो मीटिंग्स केवल वन वे नहीं हो कि मंत्रालय ने कुछ कहा, नैफकब ने नोट किया और हम चले गए। नैफकब अपने इश्यूज को लेकर के आए, अम्ब्रेला ऑर्गेनाइजेशन उसका समाधान दे। अम्ब्रेला ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को भी देखना पड़ेगा कि हमारे अर्बन कोऑपरेटिव बैंक्स के जो कंसर्न है उसके हिसाब से हम अपनी सर्विसेज को कैसे और बेहतर कर सकते हैं, कैसे उनके लिए जो सुलभ टेक्नोलॉजिकल या फाइनेंशियल जो सर्विसेज हैं उनको और आसान कर सकते हैं मार्केट की तुलना में, जो उनके लिए कॉस्ट इफेक्टिव भी हो, यूजफुल भी हो और हम सब एक साथ मिल करके जो कोऑपरेशन एवं कोऑपरेटिव की भावना है उसके साथ हम आगे बढ़ सकें। तो इन्हीं शब्दों के साथ आज के सत्र में मैं अपने वाणी को विराम देता हूं और मैं आशा करता हूं कि मैं आप सबके लिए एक माध्यम बन सकूंगा, मंत्रालय में एक कड़ी के रूप में कार्य कर सकूंगा और अधिक से अधिक आपके साथ मिल करके हम अर्बन कोऑपरेटिव बैंकिंग सेक्टर को मजबूत करने में हम सब काम कर पाएंगे। और एक बार फिर मैं निवेदन करता हूं कि अर्बन कुंभ का एक जो महत्व है, इस महत्व को हम सब आत्मसात करें और निश्चित तौर पर ये एक ऐतिहासिक 2 दिन का कार्यक्रम है और जो माननीय मंत्री जी ने रोड मैप दिया है, 1 साल बाद जब हम ऐसे किसी मौके पर होंगे तो हम इन 1 साल की उपलब्धियों को उस मौके पर बता पाएंगे कि कितने नए बैंक्स खोलने की तैयारी है, कितने बैंक्स खोलने के लिए तो अभी हमें अनुमति मिलनी है, लेकिन कितनी शाखाएं खुली और कितने बैंक्स के लिए जो हमारी कोशिश है उसमें हम कितना आगे बढ़े, कितनी नई टेक्नोलॉजिकल सर्विसेज को हमने इम्प्लीमेंट किया, कितनी सारी जो कंप्लायंसेस हैं उसको हम ठीक कर पा रहे हैं। आप सभी को मेरी बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं। थैंक यू सो मच।
थैंक यू रमन कुमार जी। किसी भी मंत्रालय को अगर बहुत अच्छे से चलना है और सक्सेसफुल होना है तो जॉइंट सेक्रेटरी का रोल बहुत बड़ा होता है। मैंने जितना भी काम मंत्रालय में किया, हर मिनिस्ट्रीज के साथ बहुत काम किया, तो बिना जॉइंट सेक्रेटरी के कुछ भी आगे मूव नहीं करता है। अगर जॉइंट सेक्रेटरी इतने क्लियर, इतने ट्रांसपेरेंट हों और इतनी क्लैरिटी के साथ, इतनी पॉजिटिविटी के साथ आपके साथ मंत्रालय में बात करते हैं और इतना कुछ उन्होंने हमें जो आप लोगों को बोला, तो मुझे लगता है कि जितने भी, और बेस्ट पार्ट ये है कि जो मैंने देख रहा हूँ कि यहाँ पे हर एक आदमी कहता आप आइए हमसे बात कीजिए, कहीं पे भी आपको कोई दिक्कत है वी आर विद यू। तो ऐसी पॉजिटिविटी है, उसी के कारण ये जो नई चीज़ें आई हैं। अब अगर हम फाइनली हम जाते हैं रेगुलेटर के पास। अब रेगुलेटर की अगर हम बात करें तो लास्ट 10 साल में ऑलमोस्ट 78 लाइसेंस कैंसिल हुए कोऑपरेटिव बैंक्स के। आरबीआई ने 215 बैंक्स में पेनल्टीज लगाई, 7 कैंसिलेशन किए, 23 से ज़्यादा अर्बन कोऑपरेटिव बैंक अंडर रिस्ट्रिक्शंस हैं। काफ़ी अगर हम पॉजिटिविटी की तरफ देखें तो उन्होंने इस सेक्टर को सुधारने के लिए रिवाइज प्रूडेंशियल नॉर्म्स लेके आए, एक्सटेंशन ऑफ प्रॉम्प्ट करेक्टिव एक्शन लेके आए, वन टाइम क्लीनअप की भी स्कीम दी हुई है, मार्च 25 तक जो भी आपको करना है उसको क्लीनअप कर लीजिए। कंपलसरी जो एक हमारे प्रोविजनिंग को लेके बहुत कुछ रहता है इसके अंदर, जब भी आप बैलेंस शीट के प्रॉफिट्स को लेके आप दिखाते हैं तो उन्होंने कहा जो कंपलसरी कॉस्ट रिकग्नाइज आपको प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस अकाउंट में करनी पड़ेगी। और जो ये आपकी अम्ब्रेला ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है और जिसके अंदर जैसे उसमें डिजिटाइजेशन और जितना भी एरियाज़ को आपने क्लबिंग किया है, जैसे हमने ऑनरेबल मंत्री जी को सुना सुबह, उन्होंने कहा जो एनपीए आपका 0.5 पे आ गया है। और इसके अंदर आज आपके नॉलेज पार्टनर इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ कॉस्ट एंड मैनेजमेंट अकाउंटेंट्स ऑफ इंडिया हैं, उनके चेयरमैन नवनीत कुमार जैन जी भी हैं, हु इज़ द चेयरमैन कोऑपरेटिव डेवलपमेंट बोर्ड ICMAI। उसके साथ भी मैं कहूँगा कि NUC FDC अगर ये मिलके ये काम करें, जब RBI आपके साथ है, गवर्नमेंट आपके साथ है, सब लोग, और सबसे एक उदाहरण है सबके सामने कितना अच्छा बैंक, जिन्होंने बोला, खुद ओपनली बोला कि इस पे काम नहीं करना है, आपको कहीं ना कहीं अच्छे बोर्ड ऑफ डायरेक्टर्स को लाना पड़ेगा जो आपको जानते नहीं होंगे पर जो इस बिजनेस को जानते हैं। तो अगर ऐसे सोच के साथ हम लोग चलेंगे तो जो हमने कहा कि हर सिटी के अंदर एक अर्बन कोऑपरेटिव बैंक होना है, तो मुझे लगता है कि ये चीज़ें तभी संभव हो पाएंगी। तो सब अब सुनना चाहेंगे श्री हरि प्रकाश पटनायक जी, द जनरल मैनेजर विद द रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया, प्लीज सर।
So they'll run the PPT. Okay. It's on, yeah. Good afternoon, Sri Ashish Bhutani ji, Sri Raman Kumar ji, Gautam Thakur ji, and Sanjay Gupta ji. Thank you, NAFCO, for inviting me to address all the participants. While discussing, while the first few sessions were on, I was discussing with a few bankers, and one of them very proudly said that our bank has now recently completed 116 years of existence. This is the gold standard of corporate governance. Just now, Sir also mentioned, Raman Kumar Sir also mentioned, and Sanjay Gupta ji also did mention about it, number of banks whose licenses have been cancelled by Reserve Bank of India, or number of banks on whose monetary penalties have been imposed by Reserve Bank of India. And quite ironically, even though right now I'm in SEBI Pune, prior to that I spent 5 years in enforcement department, where my main primary job was to cause grief to banks in terms of imposing monetary penalties. Now you might be wondering, why do we end up imposing so much of penalties on banks? And as Sir also pointed out, the man on the street thinks that RBI is too harsh on cooperative banks. You might feel that, there's a parable which says that in case a man has a hammer, everything looks like a nail. But it is not like that. We have high-powered committee comprising of none other than 3 executive directors who take the final call in terms of whether to issue a show-cause notice or not. The primary reason behind imposing monetary penalties on cooperative banks is to ensure that we create a deterrent for other banks and we create a precedent for other banks who learn from the mistakes of others. Okay, that's point number 1. And you please do realize that RBI's main aim is to ensure that the depositors' interests are always protected, and we also have a mandate of financial stability. So in order to achieve these 2 goals, sometimes we might be perceived as being too harsh, but that's a part of our job. We are akin to film critics. We might not be able to direct a good movie, but we can tell what all is wrong in the movie or is good in the movie. Now, if I run the presentation, it is full of snippets of information, but it will be like mouthing mere platitudes about corporate governance. I will tell you a very specific and personal example in terms of what happens when corporate governance fails. It is not a matter of discussion in a conference room. There are real-life consequences if a bank is not managed properly. As I told you, I was working in enforcement department, the head office of, it's in Mumbai. One day I stepped out of my office, and who do I meet? A very dignified gentleman, senior citizen, all white hair, tears running down his cheeks. And he saw my identity card, held onto my hand and said, "Beta, paisa wapas nahi milega. Can you do something?" Because he had to ensure that his son was, I think he was in the final year of his engineering or something, he had to pay the fee. I'll not take the name of the bank, but it's a very striking instance of what are the real life consequences of corporate governance failure. I think people who, most of you are senior bankers, you would know, it was a bank that went down. It had a lot of issues. Later, another bank, took it over. The bank is now doing fine, and one of the ramifications of that particular bank revival was that DICGC premium DICGC cover was increased from 1 lakh rupees to 5 lakh rupees. I think by now all of you might have a fair idea as to which bank I'm talking about, but corporate governance is not merely a set of directions issued by whether Basel or be it Reserve Bank of India or be it Ministry of Corporate Affairs. These are a set of ethical rules all of you should abide by, because if you do not, there are real life examples which I have already mentioned about. So I'll just, I can't see from here, so what I'll do is, sound. I think I'll be here so that I can see. Can you hear me? Yeah. Now I'm playing the devil's advocate in terms of I'm the harbinger of bad news. You see, these are the latest press releases, excerpts of press releases. Why I am sharing this sort of bad news about banks in such an August gathering? What I wanted to impress upon you is the fact that I'm just running through a bit fast because there's a paucity of time. All of these are eminently preventable. The reasons for which banks have been penalized are for reasons which are absolutely manageable. I mean, the directions pertaining to this have been in force since God knows when. Some more examples. I mean, I'll share the PPT with you. I'll leave it with them. It's already there on the desktop, laptop. You can take it. So what I'm trying to say is that, do you know what are the ramifications of these sort of penalties? Sir did mention about something called intangible parameter called trust. A bank gets penalized, people tend to lose a little bit of trust in the bank. And now what has happened, social media actually amplifies any such bad news. Okay. So what happens? We have had the case of Silicon Valley Bank in USA, where there was a run on the bank, and in exactly 3 days flat, the bank went down under. So in the age of social media, in the age of internet banking, where in a click of few buttons you can transfer or move funds from one bank to the another, it is of absolute necessity and it is absolutely imperative that you ensure that public's trust in you remains unshakable and it continues to, and you continue to remain a thriving organization, and you leave behind a legacy so that after 10 years when you meet, somebody will say that, okay, our bank has completed 126 years of existence. For each example of a license being cancelled by Reserve Bank of India, there are also examples of very well-run banks which have completed more than a century of existence. So those could be your Polestar, beacon lights, which you did talk about SOPs in terms of the better run banks sharing the SOPs with all the rest of the cooperative banking system. This could be one of the primer in terms of reaching out to all the banks which have a formidable legacy. This is something I just wanted to kind of bring in a bit of humor in a serious discussion. The only reason Robert was invited to the board meetings was because he did an awesome robot dance. Why? There's a bit of humor in it, but there's a lot of messaging behind it. I think Sir also mentioned about, Sir did mention about the board being composed of really competent people. The board indeed should comprise of competent people because they're the ones who will give directions to everybody and it trickles down trickle down to the last man on the ground. If the board is lackadaisical, if people think that the board cuts corners, if the board is kind of the integrity is compromised, it actually seeps through the entire structure. 5-year plan, the only problem I see is most of us plan to be out of here in 3 years. I mean, this is again, I always say whenever I meet bankers that do not think in short term. Think about leaving behind a legacy which endures. Okay? Honorary designation, this is something that we have, at least from Reserve Bank of India, we have always said that this is something that we should not, it should not be encouraged. In fact, our master circular on board of directors issued on April 1, 2025, we have again reiterated that you obviously need to have a professional board and you should desist from giving honorary designation to certain people of your choice who, since they could not be elected, yet are members of the board because you have given them some honorary designation. Then these are the principles of corporate governance. I mean, fairness, transparency, accountability, responsibility. Most of the banks fail because of lack of transparency in decision making. I will not name a bank, one of the biggest banks in the country. The head of that particular bank had to step down because of a particular credit decision that she it took where there was a conflict of interest. So this possibly can be cited as one of those, benchmark cases of corporate governance failures. Again, it had quite a bit of ramification on the personal life of that particular head honcho. I'll not dwell much on that, but what I'm trying to say is that when corporate governance failures happen, it not only affects it not only besmirches the name of the bank, but it also affects your personal integrity and reputation. So you have a skin in the game. As Nicholas Taleb says, that you need to have skin in the game. Corporate governance should be absolutely spot on because you also need to guard your reputation. You are on the board. You are the one who is managing the bank. In case the bank goes down under, then probably the first set of people to be blamed would be the board. Directors on the board. And who are the directors on the board? Who already have exemplary service. They have already put in 20-30 years of service and they have been elected to the board. So also save your own legacy. So this is something role of board of directors. There's a bit of about professionalism also. Then obviously there is a contentious issue in terms of continuation on the board beyond 10 years and all. That also is being. What I'm basically trying to hint at is that there should not be any conflict of interest. There should not be any vested interest. Then the 3 lines of defense that the board of directors should be focusing on. And the 4th line of defense is external audit, which obviously RBI does. So I'll request, it will be my sincere request to each board member present here, please ensure that RBI's inspection reports are kind of given due importance, and any open observations or any risk mitigation plan, you set right all the observations within the mutually agreed upon timelines. Role of board, this is something that I have, I can go through it. Due to the paucity of time, I need not go through each slide, but there is one thing that I need to impress upon you. We have a set of do's and don'ts for the directors. The directors are not supposed to intervene in the day-to-day activities of the bank. किसका कहाँ posting करे, किसको कौन सा department में करे, transfer करे. That is something you leave it to your professional management team. You have hired them from the market. You're paying them a salary. They're good. Let them do it. So what you should be looking at is the broader picture in terms of what should be the risk appetite. What should be our risk tolerant limit? what should be the kind of customers we want to onboard, what is the kind of customers we want to lend to, what is the sector where we want to grow. So these are the broader policy level macro issues that you should be concerned about rather than interfering in the day-to-day activities of the bank. You have a professional set of people who are managing the day-to-day activities. That is their USP, their domain. Leave that to them. This is something that even our governor, sir, in one of his speech, he had mentioned. Adapting bank strategy and offerings as suited to the digital age. This is something that I picked up specifically because we all mentioned about how there's a lot of digitization happening, how there are, in fact, I hope you realize that you are in such a competitive field. Your competitors are not only other UCBs, but also fintechs, NBFCs, scheduled commercial banks, payment banks, and small finance banks. So look at the, and fintechs and scheduled commercial banks, they invest a lot in technology. And sir did mention about, I think Raman Kumar sir did mention about his personal experience where everybody in that bank, the customer was a bit, probably senior citizen and above. But when you are trying to attract Gen Z customers, the younger ones, they will always look at banks which have invested heavily in digitizing their products, which have a very good and well-functioning internet banking platform. And this is where the umbrella organization will play a very stellar role because, you know, digitization and all, it actually entails a lot of sunk cost, a lot of initial capitalization. So obviously that is where some of the cooperative banks which are a bit smaller, whose balance sheet size is a bit smaller, they do have issues. But this is where I think the umbrella organization might come handy. So this is where the board needs to focus. Credit, especially in India, banks are sunk by bad loan books. Very rarely liquidity run has happened in Indian banks. There was a particular instance in a scheduled commercial bank, private sector bank in Gujarat a long time ago, but that was contained by the timely intervention of Reserve Bank of India. But usually when you say, look at banks failing in India, it is on account of bad loan book. So this is where you need to be extremely careful. This is where, in fact, UCBs actually have a head start over scheduled commercial banks or NBFCs. You know your customers. When I say that you know your customers, you actually know whether they are capable enough of repaying or not. It's not impersonal. UCBs, they operate as, I think Bhutani sir also did mention, community banks, right? So you all know who are your borrowers. Yet sometimes we do see that the NPA levels are kind of a bit high in UCBs as compared to ACBs. So this basically brings to a very sharp focus on your credit appraisal methodology, competence, and you can hear me, right? I can wrap up? So this is since banks are undone by a bad loan book, all of you should extensively focus on our IRAC norm guidelines, which basically tells you what are all the guidelines regarding lending. Okay, there have been instances where in order to ensure that your bank has a very strong growth, the credit policy has been revised to ensure that the hurdle rate has been downgraded. I mean, it's a technical term, I think sir would understand. The hurdle rate has been downgraded. I mean, what in layman's language, what you basically did was that last year, such a person was not eligible for a loan, but this year, to ensure that your balance sheet grows, your loan book grows, you ensure that even such a customer who was earlier not a good customer now becomes eligible for a loan. Why? Growth. Growth cannot be the be-all and end-all strategy. It has to be necessarily be kind of weighted against risk management. Okay, I do not have, I mean, I have around 50 slides. I had a lot to say, but due to paucity of time, let me finish by saying that we are not your enemies. I mean, when I say we, I mean Reserve Bank of India. We just want the sector to do well. We want the banks to continue to remain as a thriving entity. We feel no happiness in cancelling licenses, but that's a part of our job in order to safeguard the banking system. If we have to cancel a few licenses to safeguard the larger banking system, we will probably go ahead and do it. But at the same time, somebody did mention about hand-holding. That is always there. I mean, our DOR, our SSM, Senior Supervisory Managers in Department of Supervision, you can approach them anytime. And as far as skills, capacity building is concerned, I am from CAB Pune. You can nominate your officers for each and every program that we offer to UCBs. I think NAFCA, Lakshmi Das ji would know that we do reach out to as many UCBs as possible and try to train as many officials as possible. So with this, due to paucity of time, I could not carry on much further, but I think I've been able to put forth my views in terms of what the regulator stroke supervisor expects from all of you. Continue to build a legacy that endures. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Patnaik. The message is very loud and clear. If you're transparent, you're doing compliances, you are free to come from the customer from the green channel. Otherwise, RBI is going to stop you at the red channel. So I just leave it to the organizers now, because we understand.
थैंक यू संजय जी। और मैं रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा मुदित वर्मा जी, हमारे वाइस चेयरमैन नाफकप के वो एक बार मंच पर आएंगे, और हमारे पैनलिस्ट जो यहाँ पर डिग्निटीज़ हैं मंच पर, जिन्होंने अपने वैल्यूबल थॉट से और अपने आइडिया से हम सबको भविष्य के लिए एक रोड मैप के लिए प्रेरित किया है। उसमें सबसे पहला नाम डॉक्टर आशीष कुमार भूटानी जी का, सेक्रेटरी मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ कोऑपरेशन गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया। उन्हें एक अंगवस्त्र भेंट करके और साथ ही मेमेंटो भेंट करके उनका आभार व्यक्त करेंगे। और जस्ट आई विल रिक्वेस्ट यू टू प्लीज रिमेन सीटेड फॉर 2 minutes ओनली। तो मुदित जी प्लीज, और आपकी तालियों की आवश्यकता जरूर रहेगी। आपके करतल ध्वनि के साथ ऑनरेबल सेक्रेटरी सर का बहुत बहुत आभार, सुबह के सेशन से लेकर अब तक, और उनका मार्गदर्शन हम सबको मिला है, तो वो मैं आभार के रूप में उनसे निवेदन कर रहा हूं। और रमन कुमार जी, जॉइंट सेक्रेटरी गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया के जो मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ कोऑपरेशन में, रमन जी, उनका भी हम इस अवसर पर आभार व्यक्त करना चाहते हैं, थैंक्स कहना चाहते हैं। और मैं ओपी शर्मा जी को इनवाइट करता हूं, मंच पर आएंगे। ओपी शर्मा जी हमारे डायरेक्टर नैफकप की, वो मंच पर आकर हमारे जो बाकी पैनलिस्ट हैं उनका भी आभार व्यक्त करेंगे, उन्हें भी मेमेंटो और अंगवस्त्र भेंट करेंगे। और इस क्रम में सबसे पहले गौतम ठाकुर जी, चेयरमैन सारस्वत कोऑपरेटिव बैंक मुंबई, जो इस पैनल में हम सबके साथ थे और अपने वैल्यूबल आइडियाज से हम सबको उन्होंने मार्गदर्शन भी दिया है। तो आपकी करतल ध्वनि के साथ, तालियों के साथ गौतम ठाकुर जी, चेयरमैन सारस्वत कोऑपरेटिव बैंक, उनका आभार। और साथ ही आभार के लिए हरि प्रसाद पटनायक जी, जीएम कैब आरबीआई पुणे, उनको भी अंगवस्त्र और मेमेंटो भेंट करने के लिए ओपी शर्मा जी से मैं निवेदन करूंगा कि उन्हें भी आभार के रूप में ये अभिनंदन और आभार अंगवस्त्र के साथ और मेमेंटो के साथ। और इस सेशन को सीएमए संजय गुप्ता फ्रॉम ICMAI उन्होंने मॉडरेट किया। उनको मुदित वर्मा जी, हमारे वाइस प्रेसिडेंट NAFCP, वो उनका सम्मान कर रहे हैं। थैंक यू वेरी मच लेडीज एंड जेंटलमैन, प्लीज ज्वाइन अस फॉर द लंच।